last week. And one of the things that he said, and I quote, is, "It has become imperative to state here that the unnecessary illegal orders used to truncate or abridge democracy will no longer be tolerated." Now, there's been a lot of reactions to this. A lot of people, especially in the legal space, have said that this particular statement is a reckless threat to the judiciary and is deliberately targeted at the eminent justices at the Presidential Election Tribunal. I want to know what your thoughts are on President Bola Tinubu's statement.
Well, you know, this kind of talk by the president didn't just start today. You know, before the election, when he was going to Chatham House in England, he told people who were having lunch with him in open mind that elections are not won a la carte. You snatch it, you grab it, you do that. So look, on that circumstantial evidence alone, he has imputed, you know, fraud to his own aspiration. You know, so that kind of person who had said that, it is counterintuitive. I would be unrealistic to believe that that person will not make an effort, you know, to want to rig the election. The same thing happened when, in the course of the currency redesign, you know, which he has, regardless of its, you know, negative impact. He did, you know, pose a challenge for those who want to use money to manipulate the election. And he said so clearly, he assumed that guilt. He said the currency design was targeted at him. So what will you need money to do? In what respect is it targeted at you? Nigerians felt the impact of what was going on. But if we are now appropriating it, you know, that it is targeted at you, it's an implication of what you intend to do, you know, to influence the election. So coming from me, I mean, it's not, you know, people can be conventional, right? You know, I mean, they call it Freudian slip, you know, whereby you know. See, look, there's something ironical that is going about. Right? People say, look, the fact that all the three candidates scored 12, won in 12 states, of course, the Labour 11 and Abuja, is an evidence that the election was competitive. But what if in reality the election was not competitive? You know, that reality, so you see, it's working to the answer, right? That after all, you are evenly, the thing is evenly split, you know, but in reality, right, what if the election was not competitive? And, you know, logically, the background against which the election was held was a situation in which the APC government, you know, had totally failed in the art of governance, in governing this country. It's counterintuitive that to believe that Nigerian voters will go to the polling booths, you know, and go and vote in the same people. Now, there was something I did, you know, prior to the elections. I talked with my friends. I deliberately went to, you know, sample opinions that, look, almost people, families in which you have young people, the younger generation, including, well, maybe the father and the mother, they have 4 or 5 children who have age to vote. I deliberately went out to ask before the election that, look, the young people, I will ask them, who do you intend to vote for? And believe me, there was nowhere that I got a different answer from saying that they were going to vote for Labour Party. When the results were released, people were saying that, I said, look, call any young person that you know on that day of the election, anybody, any young person, that who did you vote for? That the likelihood, the probability is that, and the 90% probability that the answers you will get, right, is likely to be that they voted for Peter Obi. So against that background, look, in Lagos, I was living in Lagos for quite a while. So if there are 4, 5, 6 people in a family, let us assume that only the parents, the father and the mother, they will vote for any other party. You now have 4 children or 4 other members of the family saying they will vote for Peter Obi. As I said, I'm not guessing, right? This is what I did. So
Okay, well, we're having just a little bit of a technical glitch there, but that would be sorted out very quickly. Now, just bringing the conversation back to you, he was making some very important points regarding why, he obviously they believe that at this point the election tribunal in favor of the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi was speaking about the percentage of youths that had voted as well. But while we wait for him to return, I think it's important to begin to look at the election tribunal as it stands, especially because we already have a sitting president, and how that in itself would affect our democracy at the moment.
Yeah, I think Mr. Oshotokun is just getting set to go right into the core of the tribunal, the quality of legal representation, the quality of witnesses that they are, the evidences that they are bringing forward. Mm-hmm. The preambles that he has started with are personal assessment of what he witnessed. When you say that you have, when you're talking about 90% of the youth voting for Obi, where will those youths be, for example? And who authored such statistics? Will he be in the states where Mr. Peter Obi won convincingly? He mentioned Lagos, he mentioned a few other places, especially where he had personal encounters. But will that be the case in many of the other states, particularly in the north and in the southwest, where Peter Obi didn't win? Would that be a reflection of how the youth voted too? So I think that it will be important to stay with what has been presented at the tribunal. All right, so we have Mr. Oshotokun back. Good to have you, Mr. Oshotokun, and you were making a point, so I'll let you land on the point that you were making before we go. I ask you to go further, deeper into the quality of the evidences that you are presenting at the tribunal at the moment. But land on your point, then I can ask you the next question.
No, look, you are talking about the tribunal. There are some things that use the circumstantial evidence, which I was speaking to. I was not merely saying that about demographic distribution of voters. I did make the point that the presidential candidate of APC at that time, who is the president now, said in London, everybody listen to it, if you want us to win this election, snatch it, grab it. So what do you expect from? And then, of course, what you quoted him saying about truncating the democracy, unnecessary, if you take both of them together, it adds up. Now, of course, in Nigeria, again, it's unrealistic of me to believe that people who have the capacity and the opportunity to vote, to rig the election, well, of all the 3 principal candidates, the person who has that advantage obviously is the APC candidate. So if that APC candidate had said this prior to the election, so it adds up. Of course, we are talking about it. So these circumstantial evidences are part of what the court will consider.
All right.
The tribunal, we have a case, we have evidences, we have a thing. But look, the judiciary itself is under unnecessary stress set. The judiciary is not supposed to elect a president for the country. All right, so it is unusual what we now go through in Nigeria that about, immediately you do have this election, you proceed to court, asking them to choose an election, the winner for you. And this is quite unfortunate. especially against the backdrop of what a senator, Senator Bukachua, said openly on the floor of the Senate, that he influenced his wife, who was the Chief Justice of the Federal Court of Appeal, to favor senators here. No, he said it openly. So by now, I would have thought the NJC would have invited him to come and clarify what he said. Here was a man confessing, that in collusion with his wife, who was the Chief Justice of the Federal Court of Appeal, they manipulated the election results. So Nigeria is such a country that when you look at whatever case you want to make about, you have a surfeit of evidence, to prove your point. Now look at I was saying the irony, of these 12 states being shared by the principal candidate. It is almost a statistical impossibility for you to have 3 candidates scoring exactly in the 12 across the country. There must have been an intervention of human agency. The probability of that happening is so low that, but as I said, they're working to they will tell you that this is an evidence that there was no fraud in the election. So it serves that purpose. People, they are using a dishonest, evidence to argue that this should not have been the case. So look at Abia State, for instance. You had the returning officer in the Abia State who said, she was rejecting, all pressures to act one way or the other. The same thing, coupled that with what happened in Adamawa, where the returning officer announced arbitrarily. Okay, so if that is happening in the process, if this is what you know, these are evidences that these are public issues. Now, you draw your inference from that are those people the exception or the rule? I believe that it is rule. In Nigeria, you hardly will find anybody who has the opportunity and the capacity and the inclination to rig, not doing so. All right. This is the kind
Mr. Oshitoku,
if you want to talk about...
No, those are the things that you have presented to the tribunal, and it's better, it's safer to let the tribunal decide on it. I just wanted to have your thoughts quickly on the first 3 weeks of President Tinubu. He's been getting a lot of accolades, and I'm sure that you have been following. What will be your assessment of it, and do you think that this, in any way, all the accolades that he's been getting, can be a factor in what eventually comes out of the tribunal, because this is a president that is riding the waves very high and people are applauding him? What are your thoughts on his first 3 weeks?
Well, what are these accolades that he is getting? Right? He started by saying fuel subsidy is gone. Right? He went back and said, no, he didn't say so. It took the GMD of NNPC to categorically come out that no provision had been made for the sustenance of. So I don't know what you mean by accolade. If a president is being sworn, he said this, a day or 2 days later, he went back on what he said. So look, let us we are dealing with people who are experts in propaganda, in manipulating public opinion. So I don't know what he has done. He has he suspended Emefiele and then he moved over to DSS. Emefiele was an agent of his predecessor. There was nothing that Emefiele could have done on his own, autonomous of the president who appointed him. The same thing with Bauer, the chairman of the EFCC. Look, as I said, look, you are dealing with Nigerians can be gotten easily. Nigerians can be cheap, in getting excited over nothing. So I don't know what you mean by accolades of what he has said. Is it really people who go to visit him, or what? What is it that